East. East. Say it with me. East. East. Say it as you write it. East. And I'm very sorry if you're hearing a buzzing sound. The neighbors are vacuuming. Right now. All right, spell it for me. East. Does yours look like mine?
Yep.
Very good. What's red markings?
Underline E.
Underline the E. Not just the letter E. The EA says E. If I was going to abbreviate this, remember, abbreviations are use few letters to represent a larger word. What is my abbreviation for East?
E period.
I think you can just do an E. I don't think you need a period on this one. I'm not sure why. But remember, never eat soggy waffles, right? What is, if you get lost and you don't have a compass, what's one good way to remember East in this hemisphere? The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. In Colorado, we always look to the mountains to the west. But if you cross over, the mountains are in the east. So looking for the sun is always a good way to tell east and west. Let's practice our cursive. E is a small loop letter at midline. A is a clock letter. Stop at 2 o'clock, come back around and connect, and back to baseline. S, remember we got one here. It's pointy at the midline, loop around about 9 o'clock and swing out, that little skirt on the bottom. And a T is uphill all the way to the top, back to baseline, and cross your T. East. The next word is strike. A soft tongue may strike hard, said Benjamin Franklin. What do you think that means? A soft tongue may strike hard. If I say something to you in anger, oh yeah, you want to know what? You said that, I said this, I am right, and you are wrong. Is your heart going to go, you know, she's right about that? No. But if you broke the vase, Grandma's favorite vase, and she said to you, sweetie, you're more important than the vase, would you be ready to give a lie and defend yourself? Or would you maybe more be willing to say, oh, yeah. Or sometimes when the preacher's preaching, it's the word for preaching, up here. And then you'd go down. So this is preaching, preacher, anything like this is person. So he's preaching, sometimes a soft word, oh, conviction, right? All right, or you could also think, strike 3, you're out. Baseball season, springtime and baseball. All right, so let's do the word strike. Ready? Strike. Strike. Did I miss one? Strike. Need a 6th little finger there. Okay, do it with me. Strike. Strike. Say it as you write it. Down far enough. Strike. Spell it for me. All right. Why do we have a silent E? Remember rule 7. Let's go over all the rules real quick. It's been a while. Strike has a silent E because the vowel sound changes because of the E. Let's go over some other reasons why. English words do not end in V or U. English words do not, oh no, I'm sorry. C says and G says J in front of an E. Yeah. Or, do you remember this? Oh, that one's number 5. Choop, choop, choop. Do you remember that one?
Every syllable must have a vowel.
Every syllable must have a vowel, right? Because remember, L and R kind of look like vowels. Because remember, consonants are closed. P, B, Z. Vowels are open. A, E, I, O, U. But L and R are tricky. L, it's like half. R, it's like half. every vowel, especially L and R, must have every syllable must have a vowel. Yep. And then any odd job. That's your mom E right there. Odd. So strike. The vowel sound changes because of the E. So with your red pencil, underline the I, 2 under the E, and an arc between the 2. For your cursive, remember our S's here. You're going pointy at midline, swooping around out and out for your, it's about 9 o'clock. No, it's about 8 o'clock, I'd say. Swoop out. A is a clock letter. Stop at 2 o'clock. Come back around and connect, and back to baseline.
A.
If you stay up top, I'm sorry, I'm spelling the word said. Just kidding. Erase that. Your T is an uphill letter. Back to baseline. Your R goes up to midline, down the shelf, and back to baseline. Your I is an uphill letter, midline, back to baseline. Your K goes all the way up to top line, loop straight down, a little bump, and back to baseline. And your E is a loop, little loop. Dot your I and cross your T. Sorry, that one was kind of hard if you need to rewatch that one. And remember, K is a loop with a little, I don't know, shoulder, I guess, or a belly. Strike 3. You're out. You get the home board. Okay, just a few left. Made. He made a pit and is fallen into the ditch he made, said Psalm 7:15. Kind of like lying, right? Tell one lie, gotta tell another lie, tell another lie. It's like you're digging a hole, and then you might fall into it. All right? The word made. Made. M-A-D. Now, are we talking about the person who cleans your house, not your mother? A hired person to clean your house? No, that's a different maid. That's aid. Okay, that's got the 2-syllable A. But for this word, I made my bed this morning. It's made. M-A-D. Silent E. Do it with me. Made. M-A-D. Say it as you write it.
M-A-D.
Good job saying as you write it. That helps your, I know it seems silly, but it does help your brain as you're doing something with your hands and saying it out loud. Spell it for me.
M-A-D.
If I don't add the silent E, what word do I have?
Mad.
Mad. So why do I need to add a silent E? The
Vowel
vowel sound changes because of the E. Very good. So with your red pencil, underline the A, 2 under the E, and an arc between them. For cursive, you could do your M as a bump letter, like that, but I'm going to do it as an uphill letter. Uphill to midline, straight to baseline, bump at midline, straight to baseline, bump at midline, and a tail. My A is a clock letter. Stop at 2 o'clock, come back around to connect, and back to baseline. If I don't get to baseline, if I make this an O, is M-O-D-E a word?
Yep. Mode.
Mode. Change the mode. I'm not doing that. I want to have you make your bed. Made my bed. So, D is also a clock letter. Stop at 2 o'clock, come back around and connect all the way to the top, and all the way to the baseline with a tail. Can we stop there? You might be mad that I made you make your bed, but you can say, I made my bed with a silent E, little loop at midline. The next one is deep. The snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even, said good King Wenceslas in an ancient carol. I don't know if I know that one. Good King Wenceslas. Guess we'll look that up at Christmas time.
Wait,
That's pretty. The snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even.
What's his name?
Good King Wenceslas. Deep. Ready? Deep. E. No, don't say duh, right? Just d. E. Can you see it with me? Deep. Deep. Why do you give me that face? Double E. Always says E. I think I'm like the goose on Wilbur when I go E. All right, sound it out for me. Or sound it out as you write it first.
E.
Okay, spell it for me.
D. E.
Good. What red markings?
Underline E.
E double E. Always says E. Into deep. Now there is a cartoon on TV that's called The Deep. What would I do with this letter if I was talking about the cartoon The Deep?
Capitalize it.
I would capitalize it because it's a proper name. Also, if it was a book, I would also underline it, right? Or if I couldn't underline it, I would put quotation marks. But typically underline a book if that cartoon is written after a book. Kind of like Dragon's Race to the Edge, right? Is a book first. Remember, our D is a clock letter. So stop at 2 o'clock, come back around and connect all the way to the top, all the way to the baseline and tail. Our E's are little loops. I'm going to do 2 together. Little loop at midline, little loop at midline, back to baseline. And then our P is a clock letter, but you're flipping upside down. So she has it here as a uphill and then straight down. I like to add a little more fancy, and I kind of put an upside down loop. Okay, so it's kind of like a uphill clock and loop all together. So you're going uphill to midline, straight under the line. You could follow it straight up, or you could do a little loop just to make it fancy. Now you're in the clock. Stop at 9 o'clock and come back around. Deep. That was deep. All right, 3 left. Still. Be still and know that I am God, says the sons of Korah in Psalm 46. That is really a hard paradox. What is a paradox? Paradox is something almost like an oxymoron. So God says, be still and know that I am God. He also says, be still, I will fight for you. But then he also says, if you don't work, you don't eat. So how do you be still, but you also work, right? It's like that tension, living in the tension, the paradox of life. Still. Remember on Rule 17, I didn't pull that one out. We often double L after a single vowel at the end of a base word. Okay? Still, still, ooh. I'm going to put those together, separate, then together, just to remind you that we often double L at the end of a base word. Okay? Still, say it with me. Still, still. It's kind of like a quiet one, but not an E. Say it as you write it. Good. Sound it for me. We often double L at the end of a base word. How about if I added DI? I'm going to distill some essential oils. Is that still at the end of a base word? Yeah. How about if I make the word distillery? Is that 2 L's or do we drop one? Distill. I go from still to distill. And now I'm going to distill the oils in the distillery. I think it's 2 L's. Okay. The end of a base word. So let's just get our regular word back here. Get rid of all the extra. We double L at the end of a base word. What red markings? We don't always underline the rules, right? So we're just going to leave that one there. Remember for S's, we have that pointy one, okay? So we go up at a point to midline, loop around about 8 o'clock, and swing out for your S. I just think that's so pretty. T is an uphill all the way to the top, down to the baseline. I is an uphill at midline, back to baseline. And my L's are big loops. Loop to the top, back to baseline, loop to the top, back to the baseline. Pick up your pencil, dot your I, and cross your T. Jot and tittle. Two left. This is a jot and this is a tittle. The next word is want. Many things are lost for want of asking, says an English proverb. You do have to ask for what you want. So this is a good thing to remember. It's not a rule. But A usually says ah after a W. Okay? So when we see the W, we can think about that it's going to say ah, not a or a.
What about was?
Because what does this say? A, ah, right? It looks like this. A, ah. When we're sounding out, when we're looking at the sounds of it, a, ah. So typically, a W will make it say ah. Wash. Want. Wonton. What is the word you're saying?
Was.
Okay. Was. Not Fuzzy was a bear, but like I was standing there yesterday, is an irregular form of is, right? It's the past form of is, which is irregular. Okay, so we're not going to throw ourselves off with that. That's why I said usually. Usually an A after a W says ah. Okay, so our word is want. I want to go to the baseball game tomorrow. Want. Want. Say it with me. Want. Want. Say it as you write it, please. Hands off the dog. Spell it for me. All right, and what red markings? It's a number. Remember we just talked about it. This is first sound. What? This is first sound. This is first sound. T. But what is this one? What does it say? A, ah. So we're going to put a 3 above that one. Want. Your W is an uphill letter. It's like an M, but upside down, right? So we're going to go uphill to midline, bump at baseline, up to midline, bump at baseline, and a ponytail. A is a clock letter. We're already kind of halfway around, so we're going to continue to 2 o'clock, come back around to connect, and back to baseline. If I don't go back to baseline, what does W-O-N-T spell?
Won't.
If I add an apostrophe, it would spell won't. But without an apostrophe, it's not a word. So make sure you get your A down to baseline. And you could make it a bump letter, but I'm going to do it as an uphill, just like our M here. Up to preference. I'm going to go up to midline, straight down, bump at midline, and a tail at baseline. And then your T is an uphill all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, and cross your T. I want you to do your best. And I know cursive is hard, but it's going to help your brain to remember things a little bit better than you're struggling with now. And that will make me glad. The last word is glad. Glad is the last word.
I'm so glad.
I'm so glad too. Ready? This was a long lesson with all the extra stuff. Glad. 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 Do we need a reminder of what our first sound there? Let's look at rule 3. G may say J in front of E, I, or Y. Does J ever say G? No. Okay.
G says G in front of A, O, U, a consonant, or nothing.
Very good. G says G in front of A, O, U, a consonant, and nothing. Same as C, like irk or bag. Okay, so glad. Ready? Glad. Glad. Say it as you write it.
Glad.
Sound it out for me?
Glad.
Any red markings?
Nope.
All first sounds. G is a clock letter. Stop at 2 o'clock, come back around and connect, and loop under the bass line. L is a loop letter. Loop up to the top and back to bass line. A is a clock letter. Stop at 2 o'clock, come back around and back to bass line for a tail. D is a clock letter. Stop at 2 o'clock, come back around and connect all the way up, all the way down, and a tail. For this, I am glad. Good job today.